It's happened. The United States as we know it is done. This weekend, the president deployed 2,000 National Guard troops to the streets of Los Angeles, bypassing state authority in a chilling escalation of power. Protests against ICE raids, once peaceful, exploded into violence as federal officers unleashed tear gas and rubber bullets on American citizens.
Describe what happened to you.
Oh, just tasted a little tear gas. Tasted like fascism.
The governor of California called it a serious breach of state sovereignty. Protesters called it an act of war against democracy. And yet, the president charged forward, seemingly eager to flex his power and crush opposition. No president has deployed the National Guard domestically without a governor's request since 1965. Is this what the end of democracy looks like? When did dissent become a crime? And if a president can silence his critics with military force today, what will stop him from doing worse tomorrow? The truth is as alarming as it is undeniable. America is at breaking point. If you're new here, you should totally subscribe. I know you're not doing anything else right now except watching this video. I'm Evie, and we do 5 videos a week on whatever is happening in the world. You should get in on this. Let's start the story. Trump's move to send the National Guard to crush a group of protesters in LA was as pathetic as it was disturbing. His executive order giving the Defense Secretary broad power to deploy troops showed his blatant disregard for Americans' freedom and his desperate hunger to play authoritarian strongman, just like the loser thugs he idolizes. Unlike past presidents who deployed the National Guard for real emergencies like, I don't know, tornadoes and floods, Trump's justification here is flimsy at best and fascist at worst. Since day one, he's been chomping at the bit for a crisis to justify using the military against Americans who oppose him. Back in 2020, Trump's plan to use troops against Black Lives Matter protests was blocked by military leaders. The January 6th Capitol attack gave him a brief outlet, but he clearly craves more power. This time around, he surrounded himself with enforcers like Tom Homan, part thug, part bureaucrat, and Kristi Noem, the ICE Barbie who shares his hardline approach and lack of intelligence. With allies like these, Trump made sure no one would stop him from cracking down his way. Chronic texter Pete Hegseth was picked to help Trump's plan to use the military against his opponents and boost his fading macho image. Hegseth's quick social media post over the weekend saying he was ready to send Marines to LA showed exactly why Trump chose him. The least qualified guy for the job. Anyone actually qualified, or actually any normal person who can think critically, would have pushed back against Trump's move towards martial law. But unfortunately, in Trump's America, I guess nobody has to be qualified anymore, or care about their own country becoming exactly what it claims to fight against overseas. Deploying troops to scare off noisy but mostly peaceful protesters? Overkill doesn't even begin to cover it. But the real horror isn't the stunt itself. It's what it's really about. This administration was built to force-feed one guy's ego to the whole country, no matter the cost. Silencing critics, punishing anyone who dares disagree, and grabbing power like it's a game show prize. Fascism isn't knocking on the door. It's already crashed the party. First, how did this weekend's protests start? ICE officers carried out search warrants at multiple locations on Friday, including a clothing warehouse in the Fashion District. Officials said the raids were tied to a judge's finding that the employer used fake documents for some workers. Outside the warehouse, tensions flared up as a crowd tried to block agents from leaving. They chanted and they formed human barricades. Similar protests broke out at a federal building in downtown LA, where rumors spread that detainees were being held in the basement. On Saturday, protests erupted in Paramount after federal officers conducted another immigration raid. Hundreds gathered near a donut shop by the evening, with authorities using barbed wire to hold them back. The Department of Homeland Security reported 118 arrests in LA this week, including 44 on Friday. ICE said 8 American citizens were arrested in Paramount, 2 juveniles will be released, while others face federal obstruction charges. The week's events highlight growing growing unrest over immigration enforcement, with protests underscoring the fear and frustration in affected communities. It's also highlighted just how far this administration is willing to go against its own citizens. On Sunday afternoon, California's Governor Gavin Newsom formally requested Trump remove the Guard members, which he called a serious breach of state sovereignty. Mayor Karen Bass said, "What we're seeing in Los Angeles is chaos that is provoked by the administration. This is about another agenda. This isn't about public safety." Usually, like in normal times, a governor would have to essentially sign off on the National Guard being deployed. However, Trump is acting in opposition to Newsom, who under normal circumstances would retain control and command of California's National Guard. This highlights again, nothing is too far for this administration, and there are growing tensions between federal and local law enforcement. So ask yourself this: if the governor of a state can't even get between the president and his ICE enforcers, who can? The behavior of ICE. Protests aren't just about people not wanting immigrants to be deported. It's also about the way ICE have been behaving. ICE arrests have soared past 100,000 during Trump's second term, with federal agents stepping up raids at courthouses, work sites, and just neighborhoods, just on the street, nationwide. Over just 2 days this week, ICE arrested over 2,000 people daily. That's a sharp jump from the 660 per day average during Trump's early days back in office, and miles ahead of the 300 daily arrests under Biden. ICE now holds reportedly 54,000 detainees and is begging Congress for millions more to hire officers, expand capacity, and convert military bases into detention centers, all in the name of reaching their goal of locking up 100,000 people at once. While ICE targets some immigrants with criminal records, the agency is also detaining non-criminal migrants, including long-time US residents. They're under so much pressure from the Trump administration to inflate arrest numbers. The result is a brutal campaign, casting an ever-widening net. Videos of ICE arrests show heart-wrenching scenes. Women and children in tears, construction workers lined up during workplace raids, and high school students like Marcelo Gomez being detained in broad daylight. Agents claimed they were looking for his father, but detained him instead anyway, citing his expired visa. Despite having no criminal record and arriving in the US as a child over a decade ago, and also just being a high schooler, Gomez was sent to a detention center for 6 days, which he described as humiliating. He was eventually released on bond on Thursday after an immigration judge intervened, but his arrest highlights a grim shift under Trump, targeting people who previously wouldn't have even been on ICE's radar, literally arresting teenagers in the middle of the day. They started with illegal immigrants, escalated to just regular immigrants, and now protesters. What happens when they decide you too are undesirable? It's disgusting, it's shocking, it's really upsetting, and it's no surprise that Americans have had enough. There are scary but obvious comparisons to be made here: ICE and the Gestapo. If you don't know, the Gestapo, Nazi Germany's notorious political police, evolved throughout the regime. But one thing never changed: its role as a brutal enforcer of the Nazis' most extreme policies. Its target often shifted with the regime's priorities, but its purpose always remained clear: to crush opposition and uphold the darkest impulses of Nazism. Here are some alarming parallels between ICE and the Gestapo. Warrantless arrests and searches, suspending legal rights, detention centers on foreign soil, no due process, and straight-up violence. This weekend's power flex wasn't a one-off meltdown. It's a big, flashing neon warning. If Americans don't get up and fight back, legally, loudly, and honestly constantly, we're waving goodbye to the country we knew. This isn't alarmism, and I know it sounds like it is. I know I'm being dramatic, but this is reality. And unless people rise to meet it with the same ferocity and courage as those who resisted before, history will not judge this era kindly.